Hello and welcome to the 42 Rugby Show in association with Cadbury Boost. We're here in Buskers in Dublin today and we're delighted to be joined by Ireland and Leinster hooker Shaun Cronin. Well, Joe Schmidt's Ireland got their Six Nations campaign back on track with a resounding 9-try win over Italy in Rome on Saturday. And in this episode, we're going to dive into some of the detail of the victory that Joe Schmidt would have been pleased with. We'll talk about the detail around the ball carrier after the tackle on the ground. We'll look at their forwards passing the ball, and we'll also talk about the detail in the set piece attack. Shaun, thanks so much for joining us.
No problem.
Last time we saw you on the pitch was the start of January, that unfortunately timed hamstring injury against Zebra. How's the rehab going and when do you hope to be back?
It's going well and kind of hitting all my targets every week, and that's the pleasing thing when you come in and you have those little targets to hit during the week, and hopefully looking to shave a couple of weeks after return to play with everything going well, so fingers crossed.
What's the experience like watching Ireland, I guess, especially when Rory gets ruled out at a late stage and you think, well, that would have been me starting. What was it like watching for you?
Look, I was hoping I was going to be involved in back in January, and that's just the way that things go sometimes. And Niall got his opportunity yesterday and played really well, and James came off the bench as well. So it's an area of strength for us now at the moment going forward, and it'll be interesting to see who gets selected going forward.
In terms of Ireland performance, 63-10 win, pretty facile in the end, but certainly some exceptional play from Ireland in scoring those 9 tries. When Joe Schmidt reflects on that, when they get into camp on Wednesday, they're going up to Monaghan for a 3-day camp on a break at the moment. How do you think he's going to review that performance?
I think he's going to probably try and take the lads down a couple of pegs. Look, he probably looked for a fast start, and that's exactly what they gave him. Compared to the Scotland game, they came out of the blocks firing and got a few early tries on the board, and never really let up after that. So that'll be the pleasing aspect. They kept going for the 80 minutes. Like you said, Rory missed the game, and Niall came in and played really well, and guys came off the bench, added impact as well, and there was no drop off in the performance over the 80 minutes, which he'll be pleased with. And I'm sure going through the game there'll be areas of the performance that he'd like to maybe taper here and there. Maybe looking at the defence, I'd say Andy Farrell will be far more happier. Some of the line speed and intensity there was fantastic, and again didn't let up for the 80 minutes, which was really pleasing to see.
Yeah, and certainly those slight issues in defence from the Scotland game were resolved. You saw guys folding around the corner really well, spacing was really good, and Gary Ringrose in particular then got the chance to go up and make those hits. But in terms of Ireland learning much from the game, it's hard because Italy obviously weren't the strongest opposition. I think Conor O'Shea has a huge job in his hands. Maybe the set piece was one thing where Ireland did learn a little bit about themselves.
Yeah, look, it was. I think they backed up the performance from the Scotland game in terms of the scrum. Put Italy under a lot of pressure in the early exchanges there. Line out went really well again. Just maybe back to basics of focusing on winning the ball and just getting the platform in order to play and get the ball into the back's hands, which got us into the game.
Yeah, lots of nice little details to Ireland's win, and we're going to talk about one now in terms of the ball carrier on the deck after they've been tackled. This is the kind of thing that Joe Schmidt probably does place a lot of emphasis on in terms of getting this right, making life easier for everyone. The example we have here is Robbie Henshaw after that lovely one-handed offload from Jamie Heaslip, and this is in the build-up to CJ Sanders' try in the left corner. And in this example, Henshaw has gotten over the gain line. We see him here, he's been tackled, moving forward with quite a lot of momentum, but there's a clear turnover threat there from Maxime Mbanda. He's over the ball. Robbie Henshaw's a little bit isolated because he's made such a bust. Keith Earls is going to be the first guy arriving in. So Henshaw's in this position here in our second shot, and I think probably a lot of players would probably try and present in that position. They're on the ground, they've been tackled, there's not much I can do, but if he does present there, then Mbanda is obviously in a superb position to jackal or to grab Henshaw and just lock onto that ball. So what Robbie does is really clever. He actually rolls towards Maxime Mbanda, and that's going to buy a couple of seconds or even just a split second for Keith Earls. And it also means that Maxime probably can't get onto the ball and lock on in that jackal position, so that Keith Earls does have the time to arrive in. We see him just arriving here, and he's going to drive the Italian player off the ball, and Robbie Henshaw finishes up on the bottom right. We see him here. A lovely clean present, long body, and it's clean ball for Ireland. Earls has smashed Mbanda away off the ball, and they can play away. A couple of phases later, Stander goes over. I mean, what are the demands that Joe Schmidt places in this area? Is a consistent thing that he's looking for with his players?
Yeah, well, you can see from the first image there, this is the kind of detail that separates the the good players from the really really good players is the level of detail here that Robbie knows. I need to buy my clean out guys coming here for an extra second, does an extra roll on the ground, buys the guys coming in that extra second to get to him and provide really really good quick ball. But that's the kind of detail that they drive in camp, is the finish the best way you can, fight in the ground, finish well, long body, place the ball, and that's a massive thing that's driven in camp, and you can see there that the guys coming in and it's excellent ball away from the back of the ruck.
Yeah, because we saw quite a few turnovers against Scotland, and a lot of us probably tend to focus on that first man into the ruck, but I guess this is where it starts for Joe.
Yeah, exactly, and again that's why it's driven so much, and it's an aspect of the detail that's looked at very closely. It's not just the cleaners coming in, arriving at the ruck. Yes, they got to get their body position right and their height down, but it's also the guys fighting the floor, giving them the best level of access to come into that ruck.
Will that be picked out in a review if you don't maybe get that extra?
It's something you'd be thinking about it if you got turned over. You'd be expecting to see it on a Monday morning.
Is there a fine line there, because obviously the ball carrier is supposed to release when he gets on the ground? Is there a nice balance that you have to find maybe between actually letting the ball go and holding on?
Well, again, this is another area where analysing the referee the week of a test game will come into play. Different referees would have different interpretations of how long they'd give you on the ground in terms of how many rolls, if you want to hold it for a sec, then place. So again, maybe they looked at Glenn Jackson and saw he gives you that extra second on the ground, and that's why again, it's the level of analysis and detail the lads go into, and it's reaping rewards on the pitch.
Yeah, we hear so much about those reviews and how intimidating they can be. Is this the kind of little thing that Joe picks out in that team review, or does he focus on bigger issues maybe?
Like I was saying, it's a massive area, so yeah, it would be if you're seen not to be fighting hard enough on the ground, if you just flop and you die with the ball in your arms, are you giving the guys coming in the best effort that you can to get the ball back? So that would be a big area, along with other aspects of, like I said, getting your body height down, getting the shoulder on, and removing the threat. So it's all aspects of the ruck.
Yeah, because we talk so much about game plan and tactics, but often you're coming back, no matter what a team's game plan is, if you're not doing those kind of basic core elements of the game well, then you're not going to be going anywhere. You can't actually use your tactical shape or whatever you have laid out. So it was really interesting to see that kind of good detail from Ireland's play. Another aspect of the attack we wanted to talk a little bit about was the passing from some of their forwards. Obviously there's been accusations, Ireland don't play any rugby over the last couple of years, and Joe's defended it, saying, we do try and play when we can. Against a team like Italy, you probably get more chance and scope to hit wider channels or to go out the back door and use your forwards as passers, not just those big ball carriers we've seen. Now, having said that, they still do rack up huge numbers. Like CJ, I think, hit 22 carries again on Saturday. But we see some of the passing numbers from the forwards here. Jamie Heaslip with 10 passes, CJ Sander with 9, and Sean O'Brien with 7. Even Cian Healy, not known for his passing game, but a bit of a playmaker with 3 passes. That side of Ireland's game, is that something that has always been there and maybe just suits certain game plans, do you think?
Well, those numbers, first off, don't really shock me in terms of, especially with Jamie, his fantastic hands, great feet, and you saw that the weekend. Obviously, CJ is an incredible ball carrier, and 9.5 times out of 10, he's going over the gain line anyway. So it was really pleasing to see the mix-up in terms of both the carry and these little subtle tip-ons to get guys coming onto the line of pace or playing out the back in order to get our second wave of attack into play. So it was a great variation, and look, you can say that Italy, their defensive line wasn't great and they weren't bringing much to the party there, but Ireland can only play who was in front of them, and I thought they executed really well.
Yeah, we're going to just look at a couple of those examples of Donncha Ryan in this instance passing the ball at the back. We can see Donncha is on the ball just here. And normally in this position, I guess a lot of opposition teams expect Ireland to carry up. You can actually see those forwards really kind of condensing and collapsing there. But Rob Kearney is showing out the back door, and Donncha, he actually flings that pass out the back. How much of it is actually down to that guy, Rob Kearney, in this position, giving a forward the right kind of information?
Yeah, this is crucial. You can see Sean, he's running a very NFL type block there as well. But yeah, Rob's communication here is the most crucial aspect. He's obviously spoken in well to Donncha Ryan. Donncha has shaped, to fake the little tip on to Tig, and then giving the pass out the back. It looks like an easy enough skill, but when you got the full Italian line coming at you there, it's a tough skill to execute, and worked out very well. And again, it's about Rob's talk here was a catalyst for it being successful.
Yeah, because we focus so much on the Irish forwards as big ball carriers, but how much, even for you as an individual, say, does it add to your game to have that threat? Maybe when a defender is looking at you or a defensive system is looking at you.
Yeah, it's the top quality players can shimmy their body to look like they're giving the tip on, or either step and go themselves. See, this is where you bring all the array of stuff into your game, or else then give the pass. All the top quality players can do that now, and that's what the coaches look from you, is to give the tip on, maybe go yourself, or give that, it's a 10-metre pass in that example there.
Yeah, we did actually want to just look at a second example of it from Ireland. This time it's actually Devin Toner on the ball. He's inside the 22, and again, this has been a big area of discussion around Ireland's game. What they do in the 22, is it just all one out? This is a really good example of still using a really strong ball carrier, but maybe again in a different position to what the opposition defence is actually expecting. We have Devin Toner just on the ball here, and you have Niall Scannell running that hard line on his outside shoulder. Again, you talk about that tip on pass, so there's an option there. But then just out the back door, we have Paddy Jackson again. He's given that information to Devin Toner and giving him the option. And then outside Paddy Jackson, what you eventually get is Jamie Heaslip coming onto the ball on a really hard line. You can actually see that Simone Favaro, who does like to blast out of the line, and actually CJ Sander for his third try took advantage of it really well. Really good analysis. You can see he's getting up ahead of the line. He wants to come up and smash someone. That's basically his whole game. And when he does smash it, I can only imagine how sore that is. But it's really clever from Ireland again, just shifting that point of contact, I think, and maybe adding a little bit of variety to their 22. What I guess I wanted to ask you is doing something like this against a team like Italy, with all respect to them, who weren't at the races really on Saturday, does that maybe allow you to build confidence in this kind of pattern and tactic ahead of maybe a bigger game, a tougher test? Yeah,
look, going forward, we know that in a couple of weeks' time against the French, it's going to be a huge step up in intensity and what they're going to bring to the table. But the weekend was a perfect opportunity to try this kind of stuff, and I thought they did it very well in terms of looking to play a different type of system in the 22. Like what I call this is they have the two wave of attack here. You got Dev with the option of the tip on, or out the back to Paddy with the hard runner coming, or again going out the back again to Gary, who looks like he's talking there. So these are all the different options that, as you can see from the image, that Ireland were looking to bring into their game on the weekend, which was hugely pleasing to see. It's a massive variation in attack and play. Yeah, it's certainly exciting, and again, you don't want to get carried away about an Italy game, but I guess what have you made inside camp or in previous years when there has been all that talk about Ireland's style of play? I mean, the impression has always been that it changes quite a bit for different opposition. Do you get affected by that at all, or do you think, maybe we should be passing the ball a bit more? No, this kind of stuff is we know that what the coaches are driving down is what we want to do, and it's got to be successful for us, and you can't really argue. It's been pretty successful the last few years with Ireland, but no, it doesn't. Look, the lads will be pretty confident in knowing that there's a game plan there, and it's there for a reason, and if we follow it to the T, then hopefully we'll come out on the right side of the results. Yeah, based on what you've seen of France so far in this tournament, how do you see that game kind of shaping up? It's going to be incredibly physical. They seem to be gelling a lot better than they have in the last few years. Guy Nove seems to have got a bit of a hand on them. Again, I still think that they're a small bit sloppy in terms of their offloading is pretty crazy at times in terms of just turning the ball over, and you're kind of scratching your head saying if they just held onto the ball a bit more with the size and power that they have. But I think that with the variation in our game, our maul, our scrum are going very well. It's going to be a really, really tight game, but I think that we have enough for them at home. Yeah, well, we wanted to actually talk about Ireland's set piece attack and some of the kind of pre-programmed moves they tend to use in attack. Again, something that I think works quite well against the French side when they have that maybe sense of disorganisation, or a couple of phases in they just lose track of their defensive positioning. We've got an example again from the Italy game. This is a move we've seen from Ireland a couple of times actually. They scored against Canada in the World Cup with this move. Don't want you to give away any secrets, so I'm just going to run through it here. They play off a line out to this far ruck. Rob Kearney carries the ball in.
he gets Sean O'Brien and Gary Ringrose and Jamie Heaslip. Their roles are to actually resource that ruck. And you get Simon Zebo playing scrum half to find Conor Murray, who's in this first receiver position here. So that's the first little bit of the move. We move on to our second part of the slide here. And Paddy Jackson's on the ball just here. He runs a loop play off CJ Sander. Again, these two players know exactly their role. Jackson takes the ball again from Sander, and he sends a screen pass here to Robbie Henshaw, and eventually Ireland work to that outside edge, and Henshaw has got Earls, Cian Healy, probably hoping to get the ball in a bit of space on the wing and bosh over someone, and also Tyke Furlong. You've also got Conor Murray up ahead of the ball there, expecting a line break, which is really positive to see from an Irish player. You don't often see them get ahead of the ball to that extent, but it's an example of how detailed some of the Irish attack is. Like, when you're going into a game as an Ireland player, do you have countless moves like this in your head, or are there specific ones that you've picked out for a specific opponent?
Yeah, it changes week to week, and in terms of who the opposition are. But no, I'll have to speak in code word here. I don't want to be giving too much away. But this is just all about manipulation, and you can see the amount of runners that they have here, and in terms of trying to get the Italians to look in. Maybe if they bite the screen pass there on image 3, we go out the back, and then we manage to get space on the edge. And like you said, you got Cian Healy and Tyke Furlong on the wings there. It's every prop's dream is to get into that 5 metre channel with a clear field in front of you. But like I said, it's about manipulation. It's about trying to get guys to bite in and then have different options on whether to play front or out the back. It's a pretty simple move, but it can be very, very effective. Yeah,
there is quite a bit of detail. We've set it up on the board here actually, and it's interesting you mentioned those kind of different options and what Ireland can do. Like those first two screen players, Devin Toner and Donnacha Ryan here playing off Conor Murray, like they're really viable options, aren't they? I think Joe often stresses that, or we get the impression that he does, that even that animation are actually being a genuine target.
Yeah, well, exactly. If you're not animating properly and you don't sit someone down, or at least hold them for a split second, then you're not doing your job properly. And then these guys here can just fade out the back and push by you.
Yeah.
So like you said earlier on, it's about roles, and like I was saying about trying to manipulate them. So if these guys here are running their roles properly, to get these two guys to sit down, buy that extra second, and then this creates the space on the outside.
Yeah. Even in this example, actually, Scannell does a really good job. He gets up into the line, he's ahead of the ball, but he's just creating that kind of distraction so that when Italy do try to drift, there's just a little bit of a block on them. Really important little detail. And I just was a little bit disappointed Cian Healy didn't get the ball. It happened in the World Cup, and I think Mike Ross was out there, and you could see him screaming for the ball, but it just didn't arrive.
I thought it was his chance.
Yeah, an exciting moment for a prop. But when those moves do work, and in this example it did work well, Keith Earls got the ball, it was a 4-on-2, he stepped back inside and he actually linked up with Conor Murray in behind the line with an offload. And a couple of phases later, CJ Sander scores his hat-trick. So it's a brilliant launch into the phase attack for Ireland. But when one of those moves does work as a player, I was wondering, I suppose, what's the confidence boost of that, or what's the belief level it creates in the team?
I suppose it's just, as you can see, they ended up scoring a fantastic try from CJ through it, and it gives you a good lift, and it gives you the kind of confidence. At least you know what you're doing is right, and I'm sure Joe and the coaching staff were giving themselves a little pats in the back as well. Like, the crucial thing here is that to get the ball to Earlsy's hands in space. Like, he's some of the best feet out there, and the pace and acceleration he has. He got through the gap, linked up with his teammate Conor again. Another really good part of that was playing together week in, week out. Conor could probably send, I know he's probably chasing the ruck here on the far side, saw Keith getting in his hands, knew the offload would be on, he'd get his hands free. It's the fact that the two of them they know each other so well.
Yeah, it's interesting you mentioned that, kind of getting Keith Earls space to go on a one-on-one, because it's so rare you really get an overlap. There were a few examples obviously against Italy when they got disorganised in defence. There was another set piece play off a scrum where Jackson switched with Ringrose and they went back down the blind side, and Simon Zebo was in a perfect one-on-one, made some brilliant ground by beating the blind side flanker. So just really positive to see that kind of attack from Ireland, and certainly we'll hope to see a bit more of that against France. It has obviously been an absorbing championship so far. I was wondering what your impression of the overall quality was, because even on Saturday night, that England-Wales game was just a brilliant test match, wasn't it?
Yeah, that was proper Six Nations intensity. They always have they've served up some fantastic games, and the in Cardiff in the last number of years. I think the games have been fantastic so far. Saw Scotland and France went down to the wire last 10 minutes as well. So it's shaping up to be a really, really interesting championship. You know, a lot of people speaking about going down to the last day in the Aviva. You know, what occasion that would be. So hoping Ireland can do well against France, and Wales again on a Friday night over there could be a very, very tough test as well. But again, look, the win at the weekend there will only do us confidence and know that we're going the right direction, and hopefully shape us well for those crucial games coming up.
Yeah, absolutely. I think after the Scotland game, as is the tendency, it was pure dejection and despondency, but that losing bonus point leaves Ireland with the bonus point in Italy as well, second in the table. They may need another bonus point, I think, in one of those wins. I don't know if France or Wales are going to give that up, but God, we'd love to see it come down to that last day. We're going to take a couple of questions, Sean, from Niall Burns on Facebook. He said, should there be a regulation reducing the situation where other countries progress into the Six Nations? I think he's talking about promotion and relegation. Do you think that should be maybe brought in?
Yeah, I think my opinion has definitely been changed over the weekend there. Italy were just so disappointing, and you're just wondering what. You know, I know Conor O'Shea's taking on a lot of admiration for Conor as a coach, and I just think, you know, what are they bringing to the table now, getting spanked by 60 points, and I suppose it'll really have to tell about how they go in the next few games, but would it be interesting to see the likes of a Georgia or a Canada or someone like that coming into the competition and having that bit of extra bite to the championship with the promotion relegation? Be interesting.
You fancy a trip to Tbilisi? Tough away match.
I love it there.
Yeah, it was interesting though. One of the Six Nations organising committee was talking about that fixture, a possible match between Italy and Georgia, and they want to avoid that situation because, you know, if Georgia beat Italy in a one-off match, then the claims are massively strengthened. I think it would be interesting to see, and I think rugby probably has a responsibility to keep growing and adding new superpowers, or adding countries that come up into that top 10 kind of bracket. I saw Germany actually had a big win against Romania at the weekend. Great to see that kind of stuff, and I don't think we should ever just close off that door and say no. You know, this is the elite. We're gonna keep it that way. We have another question. This is from Paul Murphy. He says, "Has the bonus point system had an effect on tactics and games?" What do you think, Sean?
I think it has. I think there was, you know, you could see early doors that Ireland were going hell bent on getting that bonus. They were kicking to the corner, chasing that bonus early, taking no chances at the weekend. You know, every mindset of the team going out is to get the win and first and foremost, and then, you know, after 40-50 minutes you're probably reassessing the leadership group within the team is you know, if it's on the cards, making the crucial decisions at that time in the game. So I'd say it's more of an in-game tactical decision more than setting the week up, going after the bonus point. It's more in the game, I'd say.
Yeah, that's never really a good coaching message, is it? Like we're going for the bonus point this week. It'll be interesting to see again, because I think that's going to have a massive effect on the overall championship. You know, you might get England coming into the last weekend only needing a losing bonus point. It would be a bizarre situation. It would be a strange way for a team to win a championship. But we'll see what happens. That's all we have time for, unfortunately. Sean, thanks so much for joining us. And thanks so much to everyone for tuning in. We'll be back next week to look ahead to Ireland's first home game of the championship against France in Dublin. We'll catch you then.